Yeah, good morning. My name is Bill Iron Moccasin. I'm an 85-year-old Lakota elder, and I've been involved working with children for quite a number of years. And as I understand it, the purpose of this journey is to try to generate more involvement between men and children of our nation, of our Indian nation, which is culturally traditional, that youngsters were our primary concern, that we say, especially in the Sioux belief system, is that children are sacred, and I think this is a belief across Native America, that our children are sacred, and that we need to do whatever we can. And this initiative that White Bison is on this year, the Sacredhood Journey number 4, to address this, I think is very, very much needed.
There is a need for male involvement in their lives, and I am active in my own children's lives, as far as their sports activities and anything pertaining to educational studies. And I've always been involved. We always go and go to their conferences. Anything we can do to help our children, grow and know that we're always going to be there watching them. Because if you're not there watching your children, then they will stray, and be vulnerable to other people.
And I think getting involved with children will show them that we care more. I have 4 kids. I adopted 2 of them, and they've never seen their father before, and they call me dad, and it makes me happy. Showing them what a male role model is sure helps them a lot. The little boy, he's learning a lot from me. Just not my kids, but other kids I see. They all like playing around with me, and I like to visit. Being a foster parent, with the 2 children I adopted, they need the love of a father, and I am very glad I adopted them, and not just me on this community, but there's other kids that need a father.
From my understanding of culture, we had a method of adopting relatives. They call it the Honka ceremony amongst the Sioux. Originally, it was a pretty elaborate ceremony that it took a lot of preparation and a lot of items and things that you had to have for the spiritual significance of the purpose of adoption. But today, it's pretty well streamlined. We don't do a lot of the elaborate stuff anymore. But the primary requirement is the willingness to adopt some youngster or make them a relative, actually. I think adoption is a English or maybe dominant society term, where in the traditional term, the Native American term is Honka is to make a relative. It's not adoption, you're accepting them as a blood relative, and as such is entitled to all the things that a family member is entitled to, So today we can, by agreement with either the youngster or maybe whoever the caretaker is at that time, we'd be willing to go through a simple ceremony, and the ceremony usually consists of the child or the person that you're going to adopt. Doesn't necessarily have to be a child. It could be an adult, that you want to make a relative. But you usually pick a name, and this is something else that's new, fairly new in our society, is that making a relative and a naming ceremony are sometimes combined, that whoever, if you're going to have a adoption ceremony or naming ceremony. You select a name that you're going to give them, and then whoever is going to be the relative, whoever is going to do the hookah, making the relative would tie either the plume for a girl and an eagle feather, that's usually with a medicine wheel, into the child's hair. With the male, it's on the right side of the head, and with the female, it's on the left side of the head, with the plume for the female and the feather for the boy. And then you give them the name, and then there's a song they sing that in Lakota, it's Lehunka, this, I'm making this a relative, and then you perform that ceremony. And then also a name is given, and whoever is going to tie the feather then is the relative, that you've got a son, a daughter, or a brother, or sister, whatever, So today the ceremony is a lot more simpler. It's a combined ceremony now today of name giving and relative making. In fact, culturally, as a grandfather, once I've reached the age of being a grandfather, I can call any child in my community grandchild, and they in turn call me grandpa or grandma, and that's out of respect, because of your age and everything. But then I also have a responsibility that I try to correct these children or, guide them the best we can. So within the system, we have, I think, some built-in things that we could use today, that we're not using. I think we have to revive a lot of that stuff. But to adopt or bring into the family circle, a person, then you do the hookah ceremony. We were doing a lot of these things, in some form or another before the European ever came over here. So if we can start getting this out, that some of these things are nothing new to us. The only thing is we forgot them, see, So we need to bring them back into perspective as being part of our culture. It's not part of white culture, it's part of our culture, see. And we're the ones that originated this in Indian country, in this country. And if we never get this out, then we can start feeling, like self-esteem, for instance. Start developing self-esteem in our kids, tell them, hey, you come from a very intelligent race of people. This is what your ancestors figured out. That they were good psychologists, although they didn't have any schools. They were good sociologists. They knew how human behavior, how to behave, how to treat each other. The whole thing is all there, that in our history. So, like this naming ceremony that we're talking about, this could build. If you look into your own traditional culture, you could probably find something in there that similar to what the Dakotas are doing, as part of the culture of making relatives, because everybody, I think, across Indian country had this practice. See? Because there's a thread that runs through all of Indian country, in some degree or another. Every tribe, every community has something that's similar to other Indian cultures across the nation. And making ceremony, making relative ceremonies, I think, is probably one of them. Because there was a need for every youngster or every person to have somebody else, some other significant other. And our ancestors knew that as far as social deal.
And learning from Bill about this making family ceremony that is traditionally in our culture. And I was raised by my grandparents, but they didn't practice the cultural native culture, and I was taught the religious way, the white man's religion way, which I'm okay with now. But I didn't know that there was ceremonies for accepting people in and into your families. And I guess somewhere along the line, I knew that there was a need for it, because I did become a foster parent and didn't like to see the kids out there and not, not having anybody to guide them. And hopefully I can get back to learning about my culture and teaching these foster kids of mine, that, where our roots come from and, what we can do, and, hopefully broaden their horizon of the native way, the native cultural way, that we can go back, go back to a full circle and, come back to where we originated from. And we won't have all these kids out on the street and, not knowing their identities. Even if we can give them some kind of identity to help them grow as parents.
The journeys that White Bison is taking around the communities, in my opinion anyway, is that it's very much needed, because I think when you bring the sacred hoop into the community, it starts to make us realize who we are, and what our heritage is, what type of people, that we truly are. If we do this, we'll have all the different elements that we need in order to have a good society again. We wouldn't have to worry about child abuse, domestic violence, substance abuse, The remedies for all that is in our old culture. So that's, some of the things that I've noticed over the years. Well, I hope that when White Bison and the Sacred Hoop comes through your community on this fourth journey of the Sacred Hoop, that it will generate interest, in order to take advantage of the services, the information, and all the different things that White Bison has to offer, to the community, so that the community can start healing itself, and to get the males involved in all of this, to heal themselves as well as the community. That the help is there, it's available, and it should be well taken advantage of, for the benefit of the community in which we live. That we say, especially in the Sioux belief system, is that children are sacred, and I think this is a belief across Native America, that our children are sacred, and that we need to do whatever we can. And this initiative that White Bison is on this year, the Sacred Hoop Journey number 4, to address this, I think is very, very much needed.
There is a need for male involvement in their lives. And, I am active in my own children's lives, as far as their sports activities and anything, pertaining to educational studies. And I've always been involved. We always go and, go to their conferences. Anything we can do to help our children, grow and know that we're always going to be there watching them. Because if you're not there watching your children, then they will stray.
Working with children for quite a number of years, and as I understand it, the purpose of this journey is to try to generate more involvement between men and children of our nation, of our Indian nation, which is culturally traditional, that youngsters were our primary concern,
And be vulnerable to other people.
And I think getting involved with children will show them that we care more. I have 4 kids, I adopted 2 of them, and they've never seen their father before, and they call me dad, and it makes me happy. Showing them what a male role model is sure helps them a lot. The little boy, he's learning a lot from me.
Good morning. My name is Bill Iron Moccasin. I'm an 85-year-old Lakota elder, and I've been involved